AI, aliens, Sasquatch, and the Warp Tour. Oh my. In episode number 3 of Surprisingly, we meet Roman, a radio host, musician, Christian, and a straight man who's been to therapy. Ladies, he is single and he's very nerdy. While he's not actively looking for love, he is looking for better ways to use technology and gearing up to discuss all the weird and unexplained mysteries that fascinate us on his brand new radio show. Listen in now.
Clap for this guy.
Clap, clap.
You guys, we're ready to start anywhere. I can sing from anywhere now.
Okay, we're gonna start obviously the pod with some light hand choreography.
Light hand choreography.
Mm-hmm.
So, like this.
I love where this is going.
Okay. Or this.
Yeah.
Or one of these things. I don't know what those are. I don't know how to do it. How people, you know how like they like.
The steeple, right? Here's the church and here's the steeple.
But I don't know how to do the one where your fingers like flip inside out. Oh, it's like that.
Oh, well. Our producer knows.
I don't know.
I do know one of my favorites is what is it? The thumb trick. This one for the kids. Have you ever done that one?
Oh,
right?
Oh, yeah. Well, my dad used to do that one, and he would tell me, "You got my nose."
Yeah.
And then he would just, that. But
yeah.
I haven't done the other one that you mentioned. I probably should try it out.
That's after we finish. We're gonna have a what would you call that? Like a gesture off?
Yeah, I would say a hand choreography battle. It's probably a good terminology for it. Yeah.
Spoiler alert: it's to the death.
Is it to the death? That's fine. Honestly, at this point, the world's a crazy place.
Get us out. Are you ready?
If you're going to go out any certain way at all, I think a hand choreography battle would be to the death. It would go viral.
It would be.
You can make a lot of money from that.
It would be an interesting and hopefully joyful way to exit.
I would say joyful. Yeah, joyful way to go. It would be disturbing for some, but you could put one of those disturbing image filters over the video,
Censor it a little bit for the
little
people.
Warning videos. They have those now in case you want to create, weird stuff like that. So you guys should totally do that. I mean, you could actually do one. It's a hand choreography battle to the death, but use AI to create the death, so it's fake, but it will look real because of how good it is now. And
is it good? How are we on hands, though? Fingers in particular.
I saw this morning. I saw that during the NBA Finals, someone, I don't know who, I want to say Pepsi, maybe. I'm going to be way off on that, but someone bought and used a completely AI generated commercial for the NBA Finals, and nobody noticed.
Nobody noticed this time. I know they had in the big game, as it were, there was some brands who went all AI.
Did they? Okay.
Yes. I won't name any names just because we're super sensitive since we are a content studio and we are affiliated with an agency.
Yeah, of course.
And also, we're not giving people free ads.
Spill the beans.
We're making them pay for it. Okay, listen. So I didn't properly intro you, Roman.
Roman.
Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you for being game to come and record a podcast that you knew nothing about.
Nothing about.
Right before we started, you were like, "What's this about?" And I said nothing, basically. And you were like, cool. We did. I don't usually do this, but I didn't know Haley, our previous guest, when she came in, and I found out she was a DJ.
Oh, yeah.
And she shared that she knew you. And so I don't typically start to ask guests questions before we start, but I do in fact now know that you too are a DJ. And I said you are forbidden from talking about it. We're going to talk about other shit, Roman.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. People will be able to tell I'm a radio DJ by my
your silky pipes,
amazing professionalism.
Yeah,
that
you
I've
are
already started with, clearly.
I mean, if we can start every conversation with let's have a hand choreography battle, I would like that. The world would be a better place.
Yeah, like I think, even if you guys don't do it, I think I'm going to figure out a way to use that idea. And I think the world needs that. So sorry to stay stuck on it, but I think it's super important.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think the people are begging for it?
I think that people sort of like, how we didn't know we needed iPods and we didn't know we needed the iPhone.
Yeah.
And we didn't know we needed iPads or Apple Watches or Tide Pods, like whatever it is that you think that you don't need, but you figure out that you do.
The machine will offer it to you. Okay, so tell me more about that. Take a drink of your coffee. Hide that logo. Don't show it on camera. What are you doing? Cover it up. Our producer's like, if I didn't
Just
say
drinking
it,
it like
yeah,
this,
just
so.
like with a full smile to the camera. Are you into emerging technologies? Is that something that you're kind of interested in?
Yeah, I'm learning Python at the moment, and
Tell the people what Python is.
Python is a programming, it's a coding language, and currently, at least, it's one of about 3 primary coding languages used to actually build AI systems. Okay. Yeah. So it's used for mostly LLMs, which are large language models. So that's ChatGPT. I use one called Abacus AI, which is a collection of them, of like Claude and Sonnet.
So this is like an
Grok.
Amalgamation of other.
Yeah, essentially
tools.
You pay like a premium with them, and you get access to, you get access to a chat window that is whichever LLM you want to speak to, and so the Gemini's on there, Grok is on there, which is X's version, or their LLM. All the Chat GPT versions are on there. Claude's on there. You get a lot out of it, and it seems better. But honestly, I think at some point, probably Chat GPT, maybe Grok, but I think it's still a little bit lower. Maybe Claude. One of them is going to be so good that everybody will use it. It'll be the iPhone of LLMs.
It'll be the Google.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm into that. I'm learning how to code it. Essentially, that's the goal. I don't really care to do that for a living so much as I kind of just want to be prepared, and I want to use it to build my own stuff.
When you say your own stuff,
Yeah.
I'm going to get into the moral question of this later too, because I want to get into the philosophy of it as well. But what are your goals creatively with it?
Well, what I think ultimately AI would be good for or what I think AI ultimately is good for rests in the improvement and quality of things that we do where we miss, from a data standpoint, or miss the minuscule details of it. The reason I say that, if you have a very large language model like ChatGPT as a company, not just their LLM, but like anything that they build, some of the stuff that they build, they can build it like a separate hub of their inner working technology, right? Mm-hmm. And it can figure out how to cure cancer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're super close to that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Is that why you are passionate about it, or is that just one of the reasons?
I kind of want to figure out how to build AI systems that work in science and data, but so there's 2 components to that. It's irrelevant to do that if you cannot get it public facing. Mm-hmm. I think, right? I think it's relevant.
Why?
So in my opinion, at least.
So that and this is just my guess, a lay person can contribute to.
They can contribute to the information, But I think more than that.
I think we're in a space where too many
Yeah.
MFs are contributing to the information.
Yeah, there's
and
a lot of that.
We don't have facts anymore.
Well, and a lot of bots do it, right?
Yeah.
So most of it is already an AI-based technology. And I can guarantee you this because I'm very, I would say, centrist politically, right?
Okay.
I have conservative values. I have liberal values, about life, and I've lived a lot of it in 40 years, right?
Yeah.
So when you meet, I was raised in Alabama growing up, with a conservative family, and like had my time in my life where I ran completely away from that, and then came back to it, right? When you do that, you meet a bunch of different people with a bunch of differing opinions. And what I'm hearing from both sides of the world today, both sides of the aisle, I guess, but really it's cultural. What I'm hearing is like people upset about information that I know was written by a bot, right?
Right.
It's like, that's crazy, right? Like they're making life decisions based on something they encountered on social media that I know was written by a bot to be an automated response.
That is real. I've talked to people in my life too about how just being a person who has a career in advertising.
Yeah.
I'm like, darlings, the algorithm gonna do what the algorithm gonna do.
Yeah.
And it is not a person. It's a machine.
It is, yeah.
And yes, of course, like people at the genesis of it are behind it.
Right.
And often have nefarious goals, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a big topic right now. And we are, and you may disagree, but my opinion is that we are sort of living in this post-truth environment. And I think the powers that be also have kind of set that up that like, hey, y'all can't believe anything. But that's just a foundational element to make people mistrust. And they're trusting Jenny, who's a mom of 3 in a basement, more than they have decades and decades of people with PhDs
people
in a
who've
lab.
walked through a lot of stuff. And look, that's fine too. Maybe Jenny needs to have a voice, right?
Yeah, and
but
I concur.
But you're right about, like, if Jenny is speaking about the lived experience of something, she's correct.
Get on there.
If the PhD is speaking about the data on it, the PhD is correct, not Jenny. Right?
But now we're fucking with data points and lying about data points too.
That we are. And that's big. And here's the thing, like, everybody, what I believe is true about everything, and granted, so I'm a Christian, full stop, but I live a very reformed version of that.
What does that mean? I want to hear more.
It is not deconstructed Christianity, but it is renovated from the typical Western foundation of Christianity.
Give it to me.
Yeah. So like the Eastern train of thought in Christian faith and how to live Christian faith, the Eastern mindset, I think, is better practice and more truth, right?
Okay.
Or there's more truth to it, I should say, right? So I think that that's more real. I think what happens is, and that's twofold. One thing is, I think that that's just true in general, right? The data says that's true. What
do you mean by
on
that?
The Bible, the data on where we sourced the Bible from, the data on what the early churches were like and what early Christians were living, and there were so many sects of those in post BC or AD rather. So like, churches spread out all across the ancient world out of Jerusalem, and everybody had a differing set of beliefs. Now, some of that is in the Bible, right? A lot of that is in the Bible. As a matter of fact, Paul wrote letters to churches in Galatia and Ephesus and places like that. You can go and, if people want to know what Paul was trying to talk about or what those churches were like, that's in the Bible now. But even post the book of Revelation, what we have of the Bible now, there have been thousands of years of Christian faith lived over and over and over again, right? Surely someone at some point, or maybe even lots of groups of people at some point, figured out probably a better way to go about living our faith, right, than very heavy-handed ways of life, right?
And you mentioned Eastern philosophy, or Eastern religion, rather, spirituality, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It feels more truthful to you.
It does.
For you, and tell me what you mean by that.
Well, so theologically, I would say historically, Western trains of thought and doctrines on the Christian faith, I don't want to say that they're wrong, because I don't know if I really believe that they're wrong.
You mentioned that they're heavy-handed.
I think they're heavy-handed.
Okay.
And I think that they're heavy-handed blindly.
Okay.
And I think that they're lived that way without being able to articulate what they mean to people. Okay. Right? And I'm not saying that, if you believe what I believe, you have to have some disciplines in your life to live it.
Roman, what do you believe, if you don't mind?
Yeah, totally. Well, I believe all the standard things that you would believe as a Christian, right? I believe that God created everything that we know. I believe that Jesus was a representation of God on the earth, whether it was God in human form or it was a separate piece of him brought to earth, right?
What do you think God is, just to back up just a minute?
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe God is a real entity. I believe that he is based in something we don't know.
And when you say he, do you mean that in a literal sense, or do you mean that in a conversational sense? Because that is what I'm putting that in quotes, have been taught.
Yes, probably a conversational sense, right? Not necessarily a gender-based or sex-based sense, right?
Okay.
Because God lives above everything that we would call creation, right?
Do you think we can actually comprehend God?
I don't. Yeah, I don't. But I think that we have access to God, right?
Right.
I believe that that's real. I think there's good data and good evidence for that. And I believe that because of that, since we can.
He's a science nerd who believes in the Lord, ladies and gentlemen. I like it.
Yeah. And what I think is, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't have their own differing opinions or ways of believing in things, or even in some cases what they call it, right? But I think that there is very strong evidence, as good of evidence as we would have for anything.
What about, and when you say evidence, do you mean lived cultural experiences as told through a Christian lens through the books that we know? Because what about what happened before that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Well, and there are even arguments about that, right? I mean, there are solid arguments that that the book of Exodus, for instance, is the first written book ever in the history of the world, right? There's an argument against that too, right? It's also, you would have to have a PhD to know, right? Yeah. To explain it to people properly. And I think there are a few people that do. There's like Michael Heiser. There's a guy named Dan McClellan on YouTube who's not quite on the Christian side. He's more on the Mormon side. But he's very good at explaining things. And those two would disagree with each other on a lot, right? So it's super complicated.
But your lived faith, because I've thank you for articulating the nuance of what you believe. But okay, so in 2 sentences, tell me how you stand on business as a Christian. I'm counting your words. Don't mess up. No pressure.
On business as a Christian. Okay.
I don't mean that literally. I
No.
mean, how are you standing 10 toes down on how you live your life as a Christian?
That's a really good question. Yeah. I think that oh boy, I'm going to not give it to you in 2 sentences.
I promise you, I'm teasing you.
Okay,
Please
yeah.
take all the time you need. Because I need a drink too. So
go for it. Yeah. Okay. If I summarized that though for somebody, I would say the basic point of it is to accept what I need as a human, right? Understand that doesn't separate me from God. Take that to God in prayer and in practice. Practice is prayer. Practice is moderation on things that we would consider excess. I think practice is servant-minded as well and servants-based.
Yeah.
So I think there are parts of that, but ultimately that looks like loving your neighbor. That looks like going to church. That looks like standing up for what's right when you need to stand up for what's right, and living with integrity, even if you don't gain from it, right?
Oh, that's an important piece. I like that you said that.
Yeah, extremely important piece. And so I think that those are the practices, right? Those are simple ones. Like if you're a Christian, you do that, right? But if you...
Do you though? Always?
No, well, no, of course not. Of course not. And that's why the nuances are there, right? But that's kind of, when people are asking about the Christian faith, somebody who's skeptical, which is totally fine. I get it. I spent 2 years not believing, right? And walked away from the church. And what I realized when I finally had a moment to settle, like I finally had this realization one day. I was like, all of that and the reasons that I left and the reasons I don't believe anymore, they were just about me. I was just bitter. I just needed to figure out how to clear that bitterness from my life.
Roman, do you mind sharing what made you bitter after you get a little bevy?
Yeah, no,
get
no
a drink.
worries. Yeah. Little coffee sip.
Yeah, coffee's important.
No logos. Yeah, so what made me bitter was, I'd had a few life failures. I had some mental health problems.
Do you mind talking about your failures or your...
No, yeah, totally. I was in a band for like 6 years. That was a metal band. And we were signed and we did well. We played Warped Tour.
What part did you play?
So played bass live, but on our records and in writing, I would play guitar. I played drums sometimes. Did some BGVs, as they're known. People out there will recognize the BGV terms.
Will
if
you
you're a
please
musician.
tell the idiot in the room, which would be me, what that is?
No, you're good.
My husband, the producer, probably knows. He's like, yeah.
Background
He
vocals.
also... Thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
you're welcome.
I like for people to sit with me and make an ass out of me.
No,
No, I like it. I like it. Because in any room, I am not afraid to ask the question and be an idiot. I also don't know a ton about the Bible, even though I was raised Catholic.
Oh, okay.
But this one is pretty well versed in the Bible. And I kind of like it just because when we have conversations like this, he can, speak to it in that way.
Well, then I would recommend 2 books for you to read or listen to on audiobook because the authors read those books, which I love.
Okay. I like when authors read the book, but we both prefer to read.
Okay.
Like this old school.
So you prefer do you prefer hardback or paperback?
Ooh, either way. I take that back. I think I'm a paper girl just because it travels better.
That's why for me too. Paperback because it's easier when you're going to the next page to kind of fold the little guy under the front thing, That's why I like the paperbacks. Hardbacks, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, what if you're just wanting to sit it down and just like sit back and think about what you just read for a second? You lose the page unless you have a bookmark in there.
That's right.
Not cool
and
with
every reader I know who actually uses a bookmark, come on.
Right.
We're out here in the streets just willy-nilly violating page corners,
Yeah, it's not fair to us.
shoving
really.
whatever blanket corner is available in the book. I've done that too.
And you know
Just
what?
like stick the quilt in there.
Not calling out big publishing or anything, but I have a feeling that the hardback cover was a money grab. If we're going to be real honest about things.
Oh, controversy, ladies and gentlemen. I
don't
like
even
it.
think that they needed to do it. 'Cause
Yeah, why?
Who wants, frankly, unless the book is only to display that you have books and don't read them, right? Just
Yeah.
to look like you're smart.
Yeah.
Why would you need a hardback
Yeah.
anything?
I do like hardbacks for, speaking of people who display cool looking books to look cool. We do that in our house, but we actually look at them. So like photography books,
Okay, that's different. Yeah, that makes sense.
fashion books, things like that. I mean, that's in our house. That's
But see,
what it would
typically
be.
those, like the pages are big enough that you can flip that guy over and it'll just lay out nicely
Or
so you
that-
can look at the photo.
Or Roman, that girl over. You can
That
flip that
gr-
girl over. Do you see my secret agenda right now? Is it bleeding through?
Man.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so you were going to recommend 2 books. Give it to us.
Michael Heiser's The Unseen Realm and Dan McClellan. What is the name of his book? Dan McClellan's new book.
Okay.
Yeah.
The people have access to the internet, so
Yes,
they
they
can
do.
they
Yeah.
can clicky themselves.
Yeah, and who knows? Things move quickly. So by the time this comes out, I could probably not recommend either one of those books. But go for it right now. Go on the journey. Those are 2 completely different thought processes, and probably both of those guys would disagree with each other on the historicity of some of the terminologies in the Bible. And what they mean, but I think it's important to read both of those and then gather
Okay.
a better perspective of your own.
Okay.
Yeah.
So getting us back to where we were, tell me about when you were struggling. That's what we were talking about.
Yeah, when I was struggling. So I was in a metal band.
Yep.
I think I mentioned that.
Played the Warp Tour, did I hear you say?
Yeah, we were on Warp Tour like
No bigs.
3 years. Yeah, no bigs.
Just throwing it out there.
It was cool for a summer and a half. Mm-hmm. And we did okay. But like when I was a teenager, I started doing that when I was 19.
Okay.
So, by the time I was 13, I wanted to be in a like a band, initially a Christian rock band. And then by the time I was like 15, it didn't matter. It was just like whatever cool band is a rock band I want to be in.
I just want to play.
Right. And then by the time I'm 18, we start this band. And by the time I'm 19, we signed our first record deal and went on the road. So like,
Do you mind telling me what your band
no,
was?
yeah, that's fine. It was called Maylene and the Sons of Disaster. Yeah. It was an interesting band. We were like Southern metal. So like mid 2000s, like Christian metal meets Pantera meets Van Halen, probably.
All right.
It was
All
a
right.
different vibe than you're going to get in most places, that's for sure. But it was a lot of fun. And we toured with, we toured with like POD.
Mm-hmm.
The years that we were on Warped Tour, Paramore played those. Then we got to know them. We played some shows with like Alice in Chains. So we touched yeah.
I love Alice in Chains. I also love Paramore. And when I was sitting with Haley, we talked about living in Nashville and seeing famous
yeah.
people out in public. And I saw Haley,
Yeah.
Paramore's Haley,
Yeah.
at a local restaurant one time. And I'm not super interested in fame. I don't think
Yeah.
it's that interesting, or celebrity, because I just think we love to look at famous people like it's the bright and shiny object that it is.
Right.
And we don't conduct ourselves as if those are real people often. So I think it's super fucking weird when like a total stranger is willing to ask a famous person, like, give me something.
Yeah,
Hi.
totally, yeah.
Hi, I like you. Will you take a photo with me? Hi, I like you. Will you give me an autograph? It's so intrusive to me. That's just my soapbox.
Yeah. It's really intrusive, but it's also, it's tough because like they choose it. But in Nashville, if you live here, at least there's kind of like an unwritten rule that we all know that have been here. We've all been here for a while.
That's right. That's what we talked about.
Yeah, you can give them a nod, wave. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. And if they talk to you, then
all bets are off.
All bets are off. That's a different thing. If you guys are engaging each other, but for the most part,
leave these people alone.
Leave them alone. Let them live their.
I saw her and she was eating breakfast, and I just, again, the only reason I say I don't care about celebrity, but like, I just think she's an amazing vocalist. I think After Laughter is one of my favorite albums, like pop albums.
It's a very good record.
It's tasty as hell. One of my favorites. And I just was like, when I saw her, and then I was like, you know, I quietly texted a couple of my friends, not there, later, like 2 hours later. So I did the same thing when I saw Michael McDonald.
Michael McDonald? I keep
my heart.
anymore.
Have you seen that meme where that gentleman is like, this is Michael McDonald before the mustache. This is, it's one of my favorites. I love that's probably top 10. That, and speaking of Alice in Chains, Rooster with just the rooster in the rain with the wind blowing. That's also one of my favorite little pieces of content.
It's funny you mentioned Michael McDonald because a friend and I were talking about him like about a month ago. And then we looked it up and we were like, oh, he lives in Franklin.
Yeah.
And so, which for people watching, if you don't know where Nashville and Franklin is just south of us. And we were both like, well, we've seen him then because we recognized the 2025 pictures and we were like, I see him all the time at this coffee shop or wherever.
He just all famous people do when they're just out living their life. He just looks like a dude. He looks like a grandfather. And just so you know, I still would. Yeah. I'm sorry to my husband.
No, it's okay. Do you guys have the list things? What are they called? The hall pass?
A hall pass.
Is it a hall pass?
We do have a hall pass. And since we're on this topic, I'll just bust out my husband's hall passes as I know them. Either of the Heart Gals.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like, yes, please, I offer my husband as tribute to you. Have at it, ladies. You rock and roll babes.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, you'd be like, my husband was with the girls in Heart.
Yeah, it's not a big deal or anything, but we're high caliber over here. Yeah. Let's see, the girls from Heart. Gosh, Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. All right.
What I love most about my husband, he's been this way since I met him when he was still in his late 20s. He likes an older gal. And I'm into that. This is not one of these sleazy men in these streets trying to drool over 19-year-olds his whole damn life. Don't get me started on that. He likes a grown-ass woman.
That's what's up.
That is what's up, Roman. Is that how you're wired too?
I'm either or, but frankly, I prefer someone just close to my age.
Yeah.
So since I'm 40, I want like a woman. Like that's what I find attractive.
Yeah.
It's like a woman. And I can tell that this is like a person who's lived a little bit of life.
Yeah.
You know? That's why, you recognize when people are attractive, but yeah, you're right. I know some dudes that are my age, not anybody I'm close with, but guys that I'll talk to who are my age sometimes will, they'll like look up a 21 or 22-year-old girl, especially on Instagram, and I'm like, hey, what are we doing? What are we doing here? This isn't.
Do you really call them out on that?
I don't know if I've called them out in person.
Roman,
but
this is your homework assignment. Next, see something? Say something. Because the women are tired of yelling at these people. We need the men to get on board too. And there's nothing wrong with if we could just objectify women just a little bit less.
Yeah.
That would be helpful for
Yeah.
all of us.
It would. I
'Cause-
think it's about probably behavioral balance, right? Because, you know, you just have to know where to draw the line. If you look at someone and say, oh, pretty girl. Like,
Yeah.
but if you're like following like 30 of them on Instagram.
Also, don't like it. You don't need to follow it.
Yeah.
Even if you look at it,
Yeah.
you don't need to follow it and you don't need to like it.
Well, that's what. So when I don't follow like many musicians on Instagram at all. I'm pretty selective. But if I open Instagram and I go to my like For You feed in the search bar,
And men have some shit show up on there regardless of what you do.
regardless of what you do,
I've
yeah.
seen a full naked lady business, and I was like, wait, I
Yeah.
thought we didn't have actual pornography on here, but apparently we do. And that, it actually wasn't my husband. It was like a male friend who
Yeah.
probably follows some spicy stuff.
Because
But
realistically, anybody who's doing the types of things that we need to like call out, like you're talking about, it's like typically it's the lowest percentage. Most people kind of try to act right? Like hopefully they do anyway.
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
hope
live
so.
With like I'm going to live with the beliefs of giving people the benefit of the doubt that they're trying to do the right thing.
okay.
But you know, technology doesn't believe in that. The algorithm isn't set that way.
It's gonna feed you the grossest shit you want to look at.
Or even just
And I don't mean women are gross or nudity is gross.
Not even, well, yeah, it will
Or
feed you.
provocative.
It'll feed you that, right? It'll feed you the provocative thing, or like something that's just true is girl musicians who are on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or wherever, frankly, any social channel and content channel, the more attractive, younger looking female musicians who sort of dress it up a little bit, they get a lot more attention than the ones that don't
Yeah.
do that, right? So
Yeah.
that's the truth. So they have 3 million followers, and then there are like 1,000 of them, and that's what pops into your feed because you're following like 10 guys that play guitar
Right.
on Instagram.
Right.
You know, it just shows you the other stuff. It's like, oh, you like this? You'll probably like this. You
Yeah.
know, that's how the algorithm is
Here are some
set.
boobs. Would you like some bosoms?
That's exactly what it does.
Yeah, it does.
And it does it intentionally. But, I mean,
So speaking of women, you didn't ask me to do this, nor am I going to get permission.
that's all good.
You did tell me before we started that you are a single gentleman
Yeah, I'm single.
and looking to mingle with the ladies.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, I'm kind of joking, but yeah, you know.
Would you like to find someone, a partner?
Yeah, long term
Yeah.
for me. So because of that, there's no real searching. Like there's no active, like I'm not out like buying women drinks at bars and stuff like that. I don't want to meet someone that way. You know what I mean? And the focus for me right now is not on anything but personal growth. So
We
I'm just
love
trying to
them.
do that.
Roman, did you say you're 40? Is that right?
yeah.
Okay, so you're 40. Listen, I don't want to speak for all the straight women of the world, but we love a man who is working on himself. Have you been to therapy, Roman?
Yes, I have actually.
Woo! Girls, get a hold of us.
Yeah, I've been to therapy. I don't have a current therapist because I'm just taking a little break. Don't need one at the moment.
Yeah. You're
And
feeling
that's kind of how I
sturdy.
treat it. Yeah, it's sort of, I just go when I think I need it. You know what I mean? Half of the people that are in my church community, who are the close people I'm the closest with, are therapists or have some sort of therapist certification or something adjacent
A counselor.
to it. Yeah. So
Are you getting free therapy over
I think
there?
I might be. Yeah.
Ooh, you lucky
Yeah.
duck.
It's crazy, dude.
They're
It's
like
crazy.
$2.25 an hour,
Yeah,
so
no.
you enjoy that that cush life.
Well, and almost all the people that I spend time with, except for two friends of mine. Oddly enough, they're the two friends who can't seem to get over certain humps in their life. But and I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody. Just saying it's weird that it worked out that way. Because one of them is super defiant about therapy, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
You know that we've offered to
And
pay for it.
they're still single Is that what you're saying?
They are, yeah. Yeah, but that, one of them isn't, and they don't really want to go to therapy either. So I don't know if there's a correlation there or not. It might be.
Well, our society hasn't done a great job of making it super acceptable to ask for help if you're a man. And I don't want to feel sorry for the men, because we need to feel sorry for women first and other marginalized communities, not just us. But the men and boys have not had it easy with American culture pigeonholing them. Like, this is what a man looks like, this is what a man acts like, or even that this is what a Christian man
we generalize.
Like. We generalize. It's easier to generalize, right?
Yeah.
And so the more we're sharing space and saying, like, hey, like, therapy's for the people. We all have shit. Like,
well, and what I would say is a general rule of thumb: if something is beneficial to one group of people, and say it were culturally based or politically funded, then it should be given to every person who would need it.
Yeah.
Not just one group. And the reason, and there are exceptions to the rule of that for sure. So don't hear me saying that, like, for the listeners or whoever, I hope people don't think I mean that, like, we should be matching like grants for HBCUs to, like, non-HBCUs, or something like that. And that's just as an example. But I think in general, in other words, like, take therapy, for instance. The two main issues with it is it's impossible for a lot of people to afford.
Absolutely.
Impossible. I mean, one thing, the average American right now, more than 80% of us can't afford an emergency expense of $400.
Right.
That's heavy, dude. That's not just like we have financial problems. That's like, no, we're in financial collapse.
Yes.
Right.
We are under duress. We are distressed as a nation. Yes.
Yeah. And if they can't afford a $400 emergency expense, then let's just say that by that data, the average American has maybe an extra $285 a month.
Right.
Then, right, that they need for savings or whatever it is. Well, it'd be even less than that if you can't afford a $400 emergency expense. But let's say you have $400 in savings and you saved that for 5 months. You can't pay for therapy. You can't pay $125 every 2 weeks to go to therapy. So if insurance won't cover it, which it still won't because it's crazy how much of it won't, then people aren't going to go to therapy, and they'll form an opinion that they don't need a therapist, right? Mm-hmm. That's your first hurdle. So, and I'm not calling anybody out. I don't know who's going to see this, but if we're going to make America healthy again, let's start with like getting people to afford therapy. That would be a good one, right?
You just made a Maha talking point. Don't get me started on the Maha moms. I have strong opinions.
Yeah. Well, listen, some of it's probably correct.
Use an essential oil sparingly, but also go get a fucking prescription if you need it.
Yeah, if you need a prescription.
We can have both.
If you need it, yeah.
I went to, actually, there's a wonderful local perfumer. I went to one of his workshops, and one of the first things that he said is, he was like, ladies and gentlemen, essential oils are wonderful. We use them in the art and chemistry of perfume making.
Right.
We don't willy-nilly just put them all over our skin, because almost all of them are toxic. You have to know the chemistry behind dilution methodologies, etc. And anyway, that's a weird tangent.
Well,
but
and it's also like you have to, like, depending on the brand, you have to know how it was extracted.
That's right.
Right. Some of it is pure enough and extracted well enough that you can ingest like one little drop inside of something else, like a carrier. Mm-hmm. But you're not even really supposed to do that because of how much of an extract that is.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, be careful with the essential oils out
Come
there.
on, people. Come on.
Yeah.
Jenny in the basement.
Yeah. That doesn't mean, of course, that doesn't mean be on a prescription for 40 years just because it treats something. No, figure out, we have the technology,
Yeah.
and if you need help, figure out a way to get the help,
Yeah.
but that's fair to people. But yeah, we should start on the therapy thing. We should start by getting people to afford therapy.
Roman, I already like you because not that that's the goal here, but I'm in. I'm all the way in because, gosh, if we could start there,
Yeah. It'll go a long way.
it would go a long way. Okay, so I've diverted you several times, which
That's
I
great.
love a meandering spider web of a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, so Warp Tour, I'm guessing
Warped.
something happened and was kind of a setback for you.
Well, what happened with that band is it just had a ceiling, and
Yeah.
that was fine. But, that band had a ceiling. And so I probably should have accepted that going into it. But I was 19, right? So how could I know?
Everything's hard when you're
Right.
19.
You don't know enough. You're just, even if you know, your emotions won't be able to process
That
it.
prefrontal cortex, baby, is not all the way.
Yeah.
Potentied, as they say.
Yeah, seriously.
Not fully potentied.
Yeah.
And I always say, well, our daughter's only 10, but I say, let's not get married. If you're a woman, we're not getting seriously partnered until we're the age of 25 at least. And for men, that age is 30. And I'm really stereotyping.
I'm so serious. It's funny that you say that. When I was 15, my mom said, she was partially joking, partially serious. But I remember her saying, you're not getting married until you're 25.
I love that.
And I was
I like your mom.
Yeah. Well, and she's awesome. But at the time at 15, I was like, yeah, right. I was like, I'm getting married. And by the time I'm 20, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm 40 and still single.
So is your mom still with us?
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Okay. So shout out to mom.
out to
I
Mom.
believe what Roman is trying to say is, Mom, you were right about everything.
Yeah. Yes.
Send
She's
this
right
to
about a
her.
lot. She's right about a lot.
Send this to her. So that was kind of a setback. And then was that a sort
Yeah,
of
I quit that band on my own, but it just never lived up to what I wanted it to be. And I'd moved here about a year and a half into that.
to Nashville?
A year and a half into having quit. So,
And was that when your the Christianity in which you'd been raised sort of dropped off, or was that later?
No, I went on for about 6 or 7 years here, where I lived here. I tried to figure out a way to get back into the music industry. I had things that people just wouldn't call you back or whatever.
Of course, it's super saturated here too. It's like LA.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out even just I started radio, I want to say 2 years after I moved here, and so I was there for 2 years full time. Then the program director that was there let me go, and I was away for about 7 months. When he left, they called me back and brought me back.
Okay.
Which should tell you everything you need to know on that front. But they brought me back part-time, right? And so, that was 3.5 years of figuring out whether or not I was going to get my own radio show.
Oh,
And you're
yeah.
already 3.5 years into it. And I'm working a day job now too, at the same time, trying to figure that end out and how to make it some real money, right?
Yeah. A livable wage.
Yeah, livable wage in a town where the rent is going up every 6 months. Right?
Still.
Yeah, still. So I had not figured that part out of my life. And I was also 3.5 years into living here and had not figured out music. Did I want to play music again? Did I want to like give this a go again? I didn't know. So there was a lot going on with that. And, you know, fast forward another couple of years of like changing different jobs and different things like that. And I was pretty confused on what I wanted. Right.
And what age are you at this point? Around?
Close to, well, I would be in my early 30s. So like 31.
Okay.
32. Yeah. And you can also compound that with like facing down all the other things. You're just not comfortable in your own skin kind of things too. You know, you face that kind of stuff when you start hitting your 30s in a way you didn't know that you would. Right. That was the first time I'd experienced anxiety. I had no idea what it was actually like, but I literally would get so anxious that I could feel it in the top of my head, and I would have to like pull over on the side of the road and take my hat off and like walk around for a minute.
Would your head get hot?
No, it would get like tight.
Really?
Yeah. It's crazy experience.
So physical experience, anxiety and stress are real and
huge.
It's sort of an epidemic.
Yeah. I had no idea that it would be like that either. And just didn't know what to do, right? And just because of like, you know, financially and everything else, I didn't have like a stable place to live. I was moving like every 6 months to a year to a new house with a new like group
roommate.
Of dudes. Yeah, new roommate. Yeah.
So you had those pressures too. Like,
yeah, you just can't figure it out.
You're
right?
feeling like I don't have my stuff together.
Right.
I'm not financially secure.
Yeah. And never filtered it through anyone, really. Yeah. Never filtered all of that change and just the circulation of all that going on through anybody, right? So when I finally did is when stability showed up in my life, oddly enough.
Through therapy or leaning on your church community or both?
Yeah. You know, because during that time, as all that's going on, there were 2 years in there where I walked away from church. I had to work on Sundays. I was like, well, I'm working on Sundays and I don't care about this and I don't feel accepted here. So
accepted because your
it was
beliefs
all my
were
own projection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if half of it was let's say a quarter of it was right. I think this is true about anything. I'd never taken responsibility for how I felt about this situation and how I was in it. So if you don't take responsibility for how you feel and how you respond to things, then you're going to always feel the other end of that.
That's a beautiful point.
Yeah.
Well made.
Yeah. Thank you. And I think that that's true now about the political and personal and all these other spectrums. It's the reason that like all the stuff that we hate, all the, you know, everything, you name a thing that we don't like, racism, misogyny, all of that. People just aren't taking responsibility for their own feelings, right? So
I think it's feelings, and we just talked about this with our previous guest too. This person is someone who has built a career trying to promote, you know, hope and love, and I think a lot of that comes from it's fear-based.
Big time.
It's if we could be asking each other in casual conversation, what are you afraid of today?
Yeah.
Why are you angry? Yeah. And let's talk about it.
Yeah. But where do you do that in our current society? You know what I mean?
I sort of show up as a weirdo in society like that. I'm like, if my barista wants to pop off on me, I'm like, do you need a hug?
Do you need something?
I will climb over this counter.
I will all have that conversation anywhere. Yeah,
you will too.
Yeah.
Like, let's be humans to each other, man. Yeah. Let's be vulnerable and connect. If I'm nerdy about anything, it's that.
And I get it. I get that, you know, we don't all want to have this big trauma dump all the time.
No.
But like, you know, one, there again is why you need therapy. But two, like you cannot keep in most of what you're feeling and experiencing. That was one of the breakthroughs I had in therapy. It was like by the fourth session, and out of all the things that I'd experienced, one thing that I honed in on driving to that therapy session was...
So you're doing this in person.
Yeah. And I'd had like a romantic relationship thing sort of fall through before it even got off the ground. But
it was something you were excited about?
It was, yeah, for a few months even.
Oh,
too.
wow.
And I was just blind to like the fact that it not only wasn't going to happen, but that it was never really ever meant to go anywhere.
It wasn't what you thought it was.
Yeah, never meant to be. I got friend zoned pretty hard, but that's all right. It's cool.
So when you say friend zone, and this is a term that's it's kind of loaded because it's become sort of a feminist talking point, and I'm not right or wrong what that can mean. Like, it might look like something like, I'm a man, and if I'm a straight man, and if I'm going to be close with a woman, I have an agenda, right? Like it can,
I understand that. Yeah.
The worst case scenario is like a straight man, usually a young man, just assuming that that I know that we know that we're all on the same page, that I'm actually not interested in who you are as a person.
That's
I just want to date you.
Yeah, see, that is not the way to go. And I don't think that that's getting friend zoned. I think that's just figuring out the truth about it.
You're like, I'm becoming close to a woman, and I think the vibes are vibing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm incorrect.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. When you're literally someone's shoulder to cry on, or the person that they dump all their feelings and details about something going on or that happened to them over and over and over again, and you're like, you're on the phone texting for literally all day.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Did you have a close friendship previously?
We did, yeah.
Okay, so you'd always been close, and then you got closer and closer and closer.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to speak from a woman's point of view, and I had some experiences like this in my early 20s. At any point, did this woman that you were close to say, I want you to know we're getting closer. I don't think we're compatible. I'm not interested in you romantically, or I'm not attracted to you.
So thankfully that person did that, but it took like 3 or 4 months to get there.
For you.
Yeah.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in that situation.
Yeah, it took like 3 or 4 months for the person that I was doing this with wasn't super direct at the time.
Okay.
Right. And they were rebounding off of a very long relationship.
Okay, that's another element that's tricky.
It's a whole big element, right? And I should have known going into it.
Did you feel used?
That's a really good question. I think I probably was at some point, but not intentionally.
Yeah.
Right? To be fair. And to be fair to her, because it's never a one-sided thing. It's always two-sided.
Amen.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah, no matter what. To be fair to her, I probably got too excited about the possibility. Right?
Sure.
And so I probably projected things that weren't there. Yeah. Right. I know that it's true. As a matter of fact.
Is this some really tasty self-awareness? Again, ladies, a self-aware man. We love to see it.
Yeah. Well,
reflection.
And here's the thing about therapy when we're talking about therapy. So, men need to understand something about who they are or how we societally are taught to live, right? Some of it's right and some of it's wrong. Being tough, being able to be a man and being connected to your manliness or your manhood or however you want to terminalize that doesn't exclude you from healthy emotional and mental responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I think it's a part of it, right? I actually think it's a part of the call of Christians to do that as well.
Say more.
Yeah. I think that literally the Bible was written as a guide to help us understand how to do that. Not just men, but everybody. So most of the stories in the Bible are the stories of what it was like for the people in it to live that type of experience in trying to figure out how to live the fullness of that.
Would you say that it is biased toward a male perspective?
No, not
Really.
Yeah, I would not say that. Not when you dive into the full historicity of the Bible. Historicity. We'll go with it.
I don't know if either of those are a word, but I like the way they sound.
Yeah.
Hey, so pausing really quick. I could be wrong about this.
No, go for it.
Did women have any part in writing the Bible?
Oh, that's debated, actually. That's really debated. One thing that we know for sure is obviously that just historically, anyway, women didn't have a ton of rights in biblical times. Now, that
You
wasn't,
don't say. How about today, Roman? We're still pissed.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know. It's tough to describe that because there's a solid argument that the way women are included in the Bible,
Inclusion isn't always representation.
Sure, that's totally fair.
And also, if a man's writing it and he's just guessing at what the female experience in that might be.
Yeah. Well, I would say that there could be some cases where that was true, but the way that women are represented in the Bible, in some cases, like Mother Mary, for instance, historically at least, it would have been insane to include a woman in it in that time because, their rights were so low on the scale. So one of the arguments that's made is that Mary's inclusion in the story, right, and the importance of, her as Jesus' mother,
was an act of feminism.
Yeah. There are good arguments for that. When you break down some of the authorship arguments, there are arguments that multiple people contributed to, certain books, and that some of them would have been women. But it's tough to know, Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your question fully or not. But
no, I just wanted to hear more from you around that because, again, as I said earlier, I have not studied theology and don't know my Bible, nor I
don't have a PhD either, you know what I mean? I'm just reading books and just going based off what I can even remember. There's a lot that goes in here and just...
Of course, but that's more than we can say for most people. Most people are living in a world of like bite-sized consumption on the internet and not exactly reading books.
Well, and I think what's true more than anything else, ultimately, is if you learn something that is good, right? So something has goodness and it has weight in its goodness. That applies to everybody. It applies to everybody equally, right? So you shouldn't be excluding women from that for any reason.
So you were talking a little bit about maybe, and I'm using this word, and maybe this isn't the right word, but what good practiced masculinity looks like from a Christian lens, or what you believe that looks like. I'm interested to hear.
In like the sort of the breakthrough I had in therapy was about that. I was on this drive there one day, and that relationship that you mentioned that we were talking about, it's sort of fallen apart, right? And I had this huge breakthrough on my own on that drive where I just accepted everything as it was. Like I accepted that it was okay for me to be who I was at the present moment, that her feelings were completely okay. And also everything else around me. So
that's very Buddhist of
you. Big time. Probably, yeah. You could argue it's the the Christian mystics who were very much the same, and spent a lot of time in meditation practices practiced like that too. But whole point is I'm just driving and I'm like driving through downtown to get there. And somehow in driving through downtown Nashville, like I was so in my feelings, as they say, like I was so in my feelings at the moment that I finally had a breakthrough of that. And I know that it was both spiritual, but also like real, because by the time I got to my therapist's office in East Nashville, I pulled into the parking lot and I parked. I just like sat there for a second and realized my whole body is numb. I like felt myself and everything. I was completely numb head to toe. I'd never felt that.
What a physiological marvel.
Yeah, it was crazy. Blew my mind. And there might be some scientific explanation for that, but
could it be your standard panic attack, like recovery?
Yeah, it was. It was like it was a complete breakthrough moment for me, because I essentially drained myself of the compounded over and over and over again thoughts and emotions and everything else about my whole life, really.
The obsessive.
Big time. And I'd already been encouraged numerous times throughout the first therapy sessions that I had with him that I was further along in my life than I realized. And I was much further along than I had any idea. So having been encouraged by that, like there was just this process where I was able to accept what was going on. It's like, okay, well, this is what it is. Like, even if I don't want what I'm about to accept, and I don't want to be who I'm about to accept myself as being, I need to 100% accept this status of myself right now, this form of me. Like, I've got to accept that if I want to be able to move forward at all.
Or else you'll stay in a pain cycle.
Yeah, and you won't make good decisions there. You just stay in that pain cycle, and then you can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right?
You're
and
stuck.
how would I ever get anything that I want in that status? You know what I mean? Like,
Roman, how do you feel? And please hydrate yourself. How do you feel sitting here today as a 40-year-old man, having been to therapy, having come back to your faith as it works for you?
yeah.
How do you feel right now, and what are you looking forward to in the future?
Ooh, that's a really good question. So I do feel with my spiritual life like there is, like I used to want my life to be like a quick brew coffee. I've realized
Fast and loose and fun all the time.
Yeah, just like
Did you want to be famous?
Famous is probably not the right word for it, but I wanted to inspire people
Through your art.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I've realized people don't really need that. They just need the good art, and whether they're inspired by it or not is up to them. They just need to experience the experience itself.
Well, and the other side of that is people like you looking at it through your own eyes. Maybe you just need to create the art.
Yeah.
And there's merit in that.
Yeah, there is.
Regardless of an audience, right?
Oh, yeah. Creating music is now like therapy for me. That's one of the reasons I don't have to go all the time. Because if I need to just process an emotion or a day, I can go home, throw the headphones on, turn on my favorite, pad, or, turn the amp on and play guitar, and typically get those emotions out that way, and by the end of that, 2 hours later, 3 hours later, or whatever, I feel like I've extracted something that I didn't need anymore.
You've gotten the demons out, as we say. Gotten the demons out. We call that in our household. We call that going out for this is a very technical term. Get ready for it. You can steal this one, but only if you like it.
All right.
A boodly-doo.
A boodly-doo.
My husband's a bass player, and so I always know when he's mulling something over because he goes out to it's our laundry room.
Oh, nice.
That's also our music room.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
I'm like, you going out for a boodly doo? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to boodly doo.
That's awesome.
So use that if you like it.
That's great. Yeah.
Boodly doo. Because
that's probably where from.
Because that's what it sounds like. Phonetics. So what are you looking forward to? You seem like you're a person who is feeling very spiritually and emotionally sturdy, and that's a real good place to find a partner from.
It is probably, but I'm not, again, I'm not looking for that. Honestly, I don't feel like I have the time, right? Because I want to add to the things that I do now. So like I want to take on more work, and my time is really tight. So if it happens in that space, then maybe it's truly divine in a certain sense or whatever.
Do you think everything's divine?
I don't know how do I feel about that?
It's a big ass question, but
yeah, I kind of don't know if everything is divine in the sense that like, you got people who, if someone flipped them off in traffic, it was the devil trying to, you know how it is growing up in the South.
Yeah.
The devil's after me today, and some people actually believe it was the devil. Some people use it as a phrasing for, whatever.
You're right.
But I don't know if
that goes back to personal responsibility. It's like, well, that person did just choose to flip you off.
Yeah, that's all it is. Sometimes it's just life, and you just got to accept it for what it is. So I don't know if everything is divine, but I don't think it happens outside of God's view. So,
ooh, that's a luscious answer.
Yeah.
I like how you phrase that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, and that's probably the only way I can terminalize it for people, because I think that's probably the truest thing. One of the things I believe about my faith now, and Michael Heiser talks about this in The Unseen Realm, God did a lot of work to sort of set the world up to just run.
You mean like an algorithm? You mean like AI built it? You mean like, oh shit, we're going to spend the second hour talking about the simulation?
Now we're going to go into holographic universe theory. That's fun. We're going to switch gears.
And now it's time to talk about the multiverse. And go. We don't have time, Roman.
I mean, that's, my radio show. So my radio show is called...
Ooh, shameless plug.
Shameless plug. It's called It's Getting Weird Out There. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. Tell me about your podcast. See, I didn't know you had a podcast. Let's talk about it.
Well, let me clarify. It is no podcast, America. I mean, it is kind of. It's a radio show. It's a talk radio show.
Okay, tell me.
So we're trying to go to the throwback. You ever listen to Coast AM?
Now we're getting into it.
We have Coast to Coast fans in the podcast studio at the moment.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Let me get a sip of water before we
Wait,
get into
is it inspired by that?
It's kind of inspired by that, and it's inspired by a handful of, oddly enough, podcasts that I've listened to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I am. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. I'm sweating right now. Just know that I'm sweating in between my toes right now.
That's awesome.
I'm that excited for what you're going to say next.
Yeah. So the podcast format is awesome. And if you have a great idea, do it. Don't worry about how many listeners you get to start, right?
Yeah, I don't care.
Don't do that. Yeah. You just do a good podcast. If it's good and it's meant for you to do that as a job, then you will. I really believe that.
This is just selfishly for me to talk to strangers. Honestly, that's my creative goal.
Yeah. For me though, I never really enjoyed just creating on my own, just a regular podcast thing. One, my radio brain can't allow half of the things that I would talk about when I would record podcasts. So I would have to go in and I would super heavy edit stuff. If there's 2 hours of audio in there, I would edit more than a quarter of it out.
Well, and before we got on the mics, I was saying that to you, where this is our goal with this podcast is to just let it ride. If you want to listen to it on 3 times, so be it. If you want to only listen to 5 minutes of it because this dude or this gal is not interesting to you, that's fine too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I love that. And also I love the idea of making something that flies in the face of bite-sized content and is a little bit more connected and soulful. And that's nothing against other podcasts that are 20 minutes. We need that too.
Well, and that's you're right. You need like a little bit of both. And for us, specifically for me on this type of content, like I didn't want to create a podcast that just talked about weird things like spaceships and holographic universe theory and Bigfoot or ghosts or whatever.
But that is the kind of stuff that you talk about.
That's like the primary thing. So like,
shut
up. Yeah, it's great. It's so much fun because there's so much. Like, I'll just tell you if this is okay for me to.
Oh, perfect timing.
Nice.
No, I love this. Let's pause.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Need fresh content like social and web assets, copywriting, and more? Visit freshconsumables.com. So we just had to take a little pause, and we are back. And you were just going to tell us about how do you have to respond to something?
No, I'm going to read off what the show's talking about.
It's more of a radio format.
Yeah, radio show format. And a quick note on that reason is because we wanted to have like a throwback to like coast to coast, right? The podcast format is cool, but the radio format's more fun. It like gets you to sort of say what you need to say about it without rambling on, and hopefully we can build, we're only at an hour right now, but if you have like a 2 or 3 hour radio show, you can cover a lot more without like pelting people's ears with
nonsense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole goal of doing it in a radio format.
So tell me about it. You were going to read something off of your phone.
Yeah. No, like a good example of what we're covering this week coming up is molecular jackhammers use light to smash cancer cells. So they figured out how to split a cancer cell with light, which is crazy. UFOs, there's a huge Wall Street Journal bombshell article this week that tried to discredit decades worth of UFO reporting.
Okay.
And it comes from a claim by a source inside of the Department of Defense that the entire thing has always been a front to throw off our enemies to keep them away from our weapons programs, essentially. So all of it, Area 51, the UFOs, all of that.
Okay, so which side are you on? You buying it or are you not buying it?
I don't know if I buy it because here's the thing. So we have enough data on the experiences now that would prove like it's worldwide. You know what I mean? It's not just in the U.S., right?
Talking point number one. Yeah.
So it's not just domestic, right? You also have people who experienced things that that they're telling the truth about, like you can tell that they're not lying about some of the technology and capabilities that we have, or that they experienced anyway. They're also not lying about some of their experiences with certain entities, like real beings, that were aliens, the Greys. And one guy was talking about what do they call them? Non-human biologics. That's the technical term they're using now.
That's a new one. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, that one's huge. That's crazy.
So what is that?
So that would be any non-human based biological entity within a certain program, which is what they're using the terminology to explain.
So when you say biological, do you mean it is a this is so weird to talk about, but it's like a 3D we're not talking about a hologram appearance. We're talking about a 3-dimensional creature of some sort.
Yeah, well, I think what they're saying is that some of the, like, there have been whistleblowers who claim that when we recovered aircraft, we also recovered non-human biologics inside of the aircraft.
Like, what the hell is that?
That's that's what everybody,
you don't know.
That's what everybody doesn't know. You know what I mean? But when you have, when you have guys who've been serving in the military for 25 years come out and say that,
that one always trips me up because, like, why would you? There's no benefit to your. To the contrary, you're putting your ass on the line, as it were.
Not to mention that, like, if you've got a secret weapons program, like, how secretive are we talking about? Right? Because unless you're building it literally underground, which is what we believe is happening, that our government is doing, that Russia's doing, China's doing it, the UK, apparently everybody is just building their secretive weapons programs underground. But there's not any weapon that we know of that's more powerful than things that we already have and things that we're already developing, like nuclear bombs. I don't think people know that. So the nuclear accords, this is really interesting. The U.S., Russia, China, I want to say the UK, and France never signed those accords. So we never signed a promise to not use nukes ever again. We just agreed to a ceasefire.
I hope everyone sleeps really well tonight.
Now, here's what is interesting. Because we're going through this today with Iran. So depending on when you're watching this podcast, we're either in World War III or not. But
dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. What we do have the responsibility of is holding countries to not creating more nuclear weapons. There's some sort of technical terminology there on what we have agreed to. That means that, like, us and the UK, and really just, I think in general, probably a bunch of other countries like Israel, feel like we're supposed to have a responsibility in terms of, protecting our allies in keeping countries like North Korea or Iran from making a nuclear bomb, right? And we know that they have uranium enrichment facilities, and those were attacked. So who knows how much damage they did, but most of those were attacked last night in the bombing raid by Israel. They're underground, so it's going to be pretty hard for them to do much damage, but they can at least blow up the facilities that do exist up top. I guess the whole point in saying that, though, is, like, when it comes to all of this talk about defense, there's nothing that we know of, no technology that we know of that trumps a nuclear weapon, right? And we have plenty of those, and we know that we're developing them somewhere.
And so is your point that that's what we have on planet Earth? And so when people are reporting something that looks other,
yeah, I don't know.
We're making the assumption that it's something else.
Right. Like, what type of weapon what type of weapon of mass destruction, to use a term that's been used by the government, would we be so afraid of that technology could create for us that, we would have to create a, 50 or 60 multi-decades long conspiracy cover up story that the UFOs and gray aliens exist. I guess it's possible, but I doubt that they would be able to control that narrative that long without somebody catching on. And a lot of these guys that are telling stories, there are a lot of stories. I mean, a whole lot of stories that these whistleblowers are telling that it just doesn't sound like you're going to be able to fake that.
So tell me, so you cover the gamut of things that are weird or odd or interesting. Give me a laundry list. You said earlier, we got ghosts, we got Bigfoot, we got aliens.
We got aliens, so ghosts, Bigfoot, aliens, conspiracy list, the Epstein thing, government cover-ups, demons and angels. Those are real. There's actually a theory that all of the UFO stuff that we've been able to see visually is just a demonic manifestation. There's that thought process apparently runs through a lot of the Pentagon, according to reports.
Okay. Okay. I like how you're using air quotes.
Yeah.
So in all of this subject matter, do you have a dog in the fight? Is your mind made up before you have, I'm guessing do you have like one or two guests on? People you consider to be experts?
Not yet, no. It's just me and a couple of friends of mine who are really good at thinking through this stuff and asking each other questions in a conversational way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point we'll have guests on.
But it's an intellectual exploration at this point.
Yeah, and it's also meant to be fun. So I think, but that's natural. Like if the three of us are talking about anything, you're going to hear a lot of one-liners, stuff like that.
Do you all agree? We love a pun.
Yeah.
Do you all agree with one another?
Not all the time. No, I don't think we all agree on everything. But I think there's a good thing to have is like healthy disagreement. What healthy disagreement looks like is one of my friends can give their opinion on something, a topic that we're talking about or a story that we're talking about. And then I can chime in with my thoughts on it, right? Huh. That's technically a disagreement, but, it's really just two people thinking it differently.
Yeah.
But we don't really have a predestined thing. In terms of a dog in the fight, maybe other than my faith lens, again, it's not me sitting there thinking that I know everything either. So maybe other than my faith lens, not really. Anything goes, anything's possible.
Did you like Coast to Coast?
Loved it. Yeah, loved it growing up. I still listen to like the best of moments. There's like they like podcast the best ofs, like 20-minute segments and stuff like that.
I had a girlfriend in college who was really into that show.
Oh, really?
And I remember she was like, girl, you got to listen to this. And I believe it was the Shadow People episode.
Oh, the Shadow People. Mm-hmm. All right.
That's another little interesting paranormal.
There are just too many of the, listen, even if our minds are as creative as they are, we
could be creating all of this stuff ourselves.
Let's say 10% of it's right. That's a huge implication.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that means that you should listen to 100% of the story because you need to figure out which 10% is correct.
Gosh, it's tough in today's environment because people, I truly believe deep in our hearts, we all want to know the truth and we all want to have the answers, right?
Yeah, that's how we are.
And now we're tasked with, you can't read all the books. You can't do all the research. You can't field all the information. But people are still always going to be curious. And I think what happens with whether we're talking about just interesting phenomenon that we cannot explain, even the PhDs can't explain.
Right.
Where do you even start?
Right. Well,
first of all, and as you said, if 10% of it is indeed provable,
right,
and has data and science behind it. The other side, that's good, right? But the other side of that is, I think, and this is just my opinion, conspiracy theory as a whole. And when I think of conspiracy theory, I lean heavily on theory, right? Like, we're talking about something that is unknown, but so much of it has an underlying agenda of either like colonialism, like racism, like it has a goal that is not good for humanity. It's like an underlying, if you want to talk, now we're talking about like deep state thing, but
could be.
I guess.
Could be.
I don't know. Don't get me started. I'm not, well, and I don't, this is my personal opinion, but like, okay, the idea of a deep state is born from this idea that the government hides stuff from us. Of fucking course they do.
Yeah,
because they have to, right? But does that mean that like they don't tell us the truth or have not told us the truth about everything? Like, no, let's not take it that far. And I guess the point, I'm rambling here, but the point I'm trying to make is untruths thrive and are perpetuated because there's always a grain of truth or a true lived experience within them. And so that's why they thrive, why I believe they can get out of control.
They can big time.
Where we're no longer listening in a rational way to experts. We're just going on what we feel is true, and feelings aren't facts.
Well, and that's true too. So, and that's why people need therapy. You see, it all comes full circle. But
I love it.
You know, everything, a lot of what you just said is why we're covering the story, because there are parts to it, right? There's the physical aspect, there's the scientific aspect, and then there's the narrative, right? Somewhere in the midst of those three coming together, like, there's a nugget of truth in there. So having the conversation helps you figure it out. Believing it all and preparing for an alien takeover and building bunkers and stuff like that, I don't know. But then again, like, Tom Cruise is building bunkers on his land.
But are we
for an alien invasion? Like, you know,
but
it's
are
so
we looking
crazy.
to Tom Cruise to guide us into
not this year? We're not. Not this year. Mission Impossible 8. 7.5 out of 10. So he doesn't get our attention this year. I mean, but I don't know. Like, you know, one of the reasons we're having the conversation about the show is, one, it's fun to consider some of the stuff, but there, you know, it's also stuff that keeps going on so much that you can't ignore it. And that's not all we talk about. Like, we opened the show this past week with the Elon Trump breakup. You know, that was like our first segment. So we don't always, the goal is not to only ever talk about that. It is to talk about like human normal experience.
They're very
stuff,
theatrical. I think a lot of it is political theater.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like, if the government isn't telling us something, it's sort of like you said, does the government hide things because they can't tell us? Sure. Do they do that with good or bad intentions? Well, some of them do it with bad intentions.
Yeah, of course.
And then some of them do it because if it ever got out, it would break the...
Fundamentally disrupt our view of everything.
Everything. But that's just it. Like, if you know, it's sort of like this Wall Street Journal story. It runs on a lot of assumptions, right? First of all, did we break the laws of physics? Because that's what some of these aircraft are doing. And if that's true, then that's something that can help humanity. So why isn't it being used to help all of us, right? If it's true that we broke the laws of physics.
Well, breaking the laws of physics, I was just listening to something a couple weeks ago, and it did have like more of a spiritual lean to it, not like down the line Christian lens, but a little more woo-woo than that. But when you talk about, subatomic particles and one particle being affected by another particle that is not sharing the same space, like you just think about that in and of itself. And I'm like, yeah, we're like breaking the laws that we created about physics.
Well, see, that's the other argument too.
Is a thing that I believe can and will happen based on the science we already know.
That's just it. It's just based on the science that we already know. Like one of the really good arguments about the age of the pyramids is one of the reasons that we can't all agree on how they were built is because we are defining their age based on numerology and time scales that we created.
Yeah.
But that's just what we created. The fact that the pyramids line up perfectly to the center of the earth and Earth's axis, we don't know how they did that. We don't know if there was something going on in the times that they were built, which they could be much older.
Sure.
Right. But we don't know if there was something going on in that time.
I do think they used math and physics. Like, I really do. Like,
well, it would have had to have been involved somewhere. The question is, was it being used by
our alien
by
overlords?
Nephilim or by aliens? Did somebody hook it up and show up out of the sky and go,
hey, you guys,
here's some physics.
Let me see how. Let me show you how it's done.
Right. Hey, here's some accelerated math that you guys haven't learned yet. And then that's how I figured it out, you know? I mean, there are undeniable things about that. Like some of the stones inside of the pyramid, not the ones on the outside, but some of the stones inside of the pyramid are huge. They're enormous. They're thousands of pounds, and they were cut from a rock quarry that was 500 miles away or something like that. And it's like, how did they get it? Because they couldn't take it by boat down the Nile. That's been proven by physics. It's like literally physically impossible for them to get it down the Nile on a boat the way that we were told that they did at the weight that these stones are at. So how did they do it unless they had some help somewhere? But yeah, who knows?
It's so juicy to think about that stuff.
It's great.
It's fun. It's fun to mull over. So before I ask you again what the show is called, Don't Tell Me, I wanted to just quickly mention, speaking of, every time someone talks about the masterpiece or the pyramids, or, you know, we talk about Stonehenge and all of that as well, I think of a small little tourist attraction in Florida called Coral Castle. Do you know it?
Oh, yes. I know about Coral Castle. Yeah.
And there is a song by Billy Idol called Sweet 16 that was inspired by this weird ass eccentric that built this place for his like young bride, which of course she was like, you'll have to fact check me on this, but it's like, you know, she's 14 or something, and he's like a grown man,
a little bit weird,
trying to woo her.
He's doing the Jerry Lee Lewis thing,
or the Elvis, or the, you know, Led Zeppelin. Let's throw a rock and pick one.
Oh my gosh,
creepos abound.
Who's the director?
Which one?
Woody Allen.
Oh,
maybe.
Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Ugh. Or what's his exiled ass? Starts with a P. The director. Jonathan. Roman.
Roman Polanski. It's another one.
There's a gross Roman. We're sitting with a non-gross Roman. Okay, so back to the point, which was there were very, very large stones moved to build this kind of monument. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I've gone to visit because I was obsessed with it for a short time. And he basically was like, I'll never tell how I did it, but I just used math, and he would do it in the middle of the night. So like the people in town like couldn't see what he was doing. And also, as gross as it probably was, and it was a different time, obviously, but I love an eccentric weirdo.
Yeah.
So look it up if you haven't.
Yeah. I want to take. I was listening. There's a really fun podcast that I listened to that's based out of Florida, and they were like, if you wanted to, you could take like 3 weeks and do like a little conspiracy tour of Florida, starting in like the Panhandle, and work your way all the way down and all the way back up.
Yeah.
And you could spend literally 3 weeks going to all these places that are tied to conspiracies. Like, have you ever heard of Koreshanity?
No.
Do you know? Well, obviously you know about Waco. So you know about the Branch Davidians and David Koresh. There's this guy, Cyrus Teed, who said he had a divine intervention and that he was a reincarnation of a biblical king.
Okay.
And that he had a bunch of prophecies and things like that. And so they started this cult called the Koreshans. He took on the name Koresh. And so they called themselves Koreshans, and then that became Koreshanity. And they had... So
what was his first name?
Cyrus Teed.
Cyrus Teed, okay.
Yeah, that was his name. So he just took on, the name Koresh and believed that he was like the reincarnation of this biblical era king.
Talk about an ego.
Oh, yeah, seriously. Well, they were super progressive for their time. They like fought for women. This is like the late 1800s. They fought for women's rights. They're a cult, but one of their rules was celibacy. That never happens in cults.
No, if you're gonna make a cult, it's always some dude trying to get laid real hard.
Yeah, seriously. And everybody, like all the women in the cult are his wife, technically.
And they're like, I don't know what it is, but it's something.
Yeah. It's like a weird situation, man.
But no sex
but
in
not
this
in
cult.
this one, no. And they moved to and started like a little like hub in Estero, Florida. And they built one of the first power plants ever. And Thomas Edison would go and visit them. Crazy stuff, right?
Creepy. Okay, where is Estero, Florida?
It is near, it's south of Tampa. So it's like, but well south. It's like closer to Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
Yeah. And which there's so much weird conspiracy stuff down in that region of Florida specifically. That's just crazy.
Yeah, I also think we're in this era of like, that is the thing. I mean, I think it's come up in every guest that we've had so far, just organically.
Yeah.
It's on everyone's mind. Just a little sidebar, as a musician and music lover, there's a 90s kind of R&B artist that I used to love named Estero. If you've never listened to her stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember her?
I can't I'm trying to place the song, but I remember seeing the name and the writing in a bunch of places like growing up, because I would listen to like Blackstreet and Boyz II Men and 112.
Yes, me too. So yeah, she was very much in that vein. She's still kicking on Instagram.
Really?
Back before I deleted all my social media.
Just living the life.
Yeah, I followed her, and she's still putting out some tasty tracks.
Ooh,
so
I'm gonna have to go give it a jam.
Yeah, you've recommended books. That's my recommend for you for the day.
Right,
Roman, I always ask this, or I try to remember to ask this.
Yeah.
Tell me the name of your show.
Oh, yeah. It's called Getting Weird Out There, or It's Getting Weird Out There. We're going to use both terminologies, but we're going with Getting Weird Out There.
.com.
We don't have a website up yet. Right now, everything is going to live on the Buzz's podcast page.
Okay, give us that.
At 1029thebuzz.com.
I spoke over you. Give me a clean version.
Yep. 1029thebuzz.com. Just look there. Soon we're going to have like a full set of social channels, YouTube, all the content channels, and we'll have the website up. But we are taking it super slow because we just want to do a good radio show first.
Do you care about having PhD to experts on this show eventually? That's just a question for me.
No, yeah, we do eventually want experts in certain fields that we can bounce these stories off of or interview. We want people who've had weird experiences that they can't explain.
Tell me you cover NDEs because that's a personal.
Dude, that's a huge one. We haven't even gotten to that episode yet, but we are like each week we use a theme and we try to stick to it. But there is a news segment where we've covered an NDE one time and a story that broke like a couple months back. But there's like a whole documentary, and I 100% believe. Do you know there's like a group that's not? They're not like Christians. I mean, some of them are, but it's not like a Christian-based group. There's a whole group that covers near-death experiences, like that are physicians. And I forget.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, obviously, there are a couple of podcasts with that just specifically on NDEs.
Yeah.
We have a friend of ours who we happened to be having dinner at our house one night, and she was like, I had a near-death experience as a child, and I suppressed it and like never talked about it. And she's like, now that I'm an adult, she's like, now she didn't have a very long experience, but it was like I was above my body. I could tell you everything my mother said as I was like potentially like on the cusp of death. I love that stuff. I think it's really fascinating and interesting. So I'm glad you're going to be talking about that. But
dude, so there's a story like that. There's a documentary that I watched that came out last year. Of course, I'm blanking on the name now that I'm talking about it on a podcast.
Where is it? Can I find it on the regular platforms?
Yeah. Search for 2024, like near-death experience documentary, and there's a good one out there that came out in 2024. And they cover a broad spectrum of these. It's literally mind-blowing. Like,
tell me, does it ping any of your questioning senses? Because I've watched, just for entertainment purposes, like in the past, I've watched like an alien documentary. And then toward the end, I'm like, oh, this is like Nazi Germany didn't happen propaganda, like at the end of it. So like when you get into these realms, I think that's what we are fighting as a society too, where I was talking about earlier, where it has this underpinning of like, wait, what master race?
It can go a little far in the whole thing when, a good rule of thumb for people should be like, whatever you want to believe about a certain thing, you can't deny like genocides or racism or something like that. So, have a settled experience with that type of stuff. Like, yeah, like Nazis were real, Yeah. I think the larger conspiracies there is that there's strong evidence that the Nazis were summoning some sort of supernatural or extraterrestrial help.
Oh, okay. That's deep. That's deep.
It's wild.
That's for your show.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So you've told me where we can find your show.
Yeah.
The last thing that I want to ask you, is there anything that you wanted to talk about or touch on today that we didn't talk about?
Oh, no.
We got some shit done.
We did. We talked about a lot of stuff. No, I don't know if there's anything in particular. Just go check out the show and know that the whole story isn't written yet, but that's the point, I think. Life is meant to be dynamic. You know what I mean?
Well, thank you for making our day dynamic. It was a pleasure to sit with you. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being so open. Obviously, I know you're in the biz, so this was like, no big deal to you.
Yeah, it's great.
But thank you for being willing and honest.
Yeah. It was fun. Thank you for having me. This was great. We'll have to do it again. We'll have to do a follow-up.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
I would like that.
All right.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank y'all.
Our show is executive produced by Sherry Day, Farley Day, and John Arnold. Produced, edited, and engineered by Jonathan Cossack. Additional camera work by Andrew Herner. Designed by Josh Ford. If you live in the Nashville area or are visiting soon and want to be a guest, email us at jonathan@freshconsumables.com. That's JONATHAN@freshconsumables.com. Want to hear more of Surprisingly's meaningful and unpredictable conversations? Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts. I'm your host, Bridget Deanahan. Thanks for listening.